The movie begins with young Blake having breakfast, but then Grady, his dad, informed him to grab his hunting pack as he'd be taking him for an hunting expedition. Not long after, the hunting trip imminently began, and the duo scoured through the forest looking for game. As they were going, Grady explained to him the do's and don'ts in the forest. Blake was lost in admonition of the magnanimity of the forest, and this got Grady slightly pissed as he hasn't been paying attention all along. According to Grady, the forest is beautiful but also dangerous, and he can only survive if he knows exactly what to do. As they were still conversing, Grady sighted a deer close by, so he quietly took to his knees, but when he was about to shoot, the deer went out of sight. On turning back, he couldn't find Blake any longer, not knowing Blake kept on following the deer at close call. He took his position beneath a tree, but instead of the deer, he saw a strange-looking creature. On seeing this, he curiously started stepping back slowly, and on spur of moment, his dad startled him, scolding him on why he would stray away in this dark forest in his lonesome. After scolding him intensely for quite a while, Grady started hearing growling from the forest deep. He wasn't sure of the nature of the creature lurking in the forest, so he told Blake to hide in a treehouse situated nearby. Grady also followed him there, and they hid carefully from whatever was hunting them. Blake was ultimately terrified while his dad aimed at the door ready to shoot. Few minutes later, Grady stood up to examine his surroundings, but no matter how far he looked he couldn't sight anything, so he used the scope on his gun to get a clearer view, and that was when he saw a decimated carcass of the deer they were hunting earlier on. He immediately figured there was a bigger predator at play, but he lied to his son it was a bear to prevent him from panicking. The duo were eventually able to return home safely that night, and Blake overheard his dad sending out a distress call. Grady told Dan on the phone that the mythical creature is real, insisting he saw it in his gun scope. He swore to hunt down the creature, and it was at this moment he unearthed Blake has been eavesdropping. 30 years later, Blake is now a full-grown man, and he is also giving birth to a beautiful daughter named Ginger. She was playing on the roadside refusing to get down, and just like his estranged father he struggles constantly with his temper. Blake now lives in San Francisco with his family and Charlotte, being his prolific workaholic wife. On getting home she gave him a mail, and on opening it, he unearthed it was Grady's death certificate, accompanied with the keys to his childhood home. Charlotte was overly obsessed with her work, making her to neglect some of her duties. After ending her call, she nagged Blake for disturbing her while she was on call with her editor, but he waved it off and served them dinner. During dinner, he told them Grady has been officially declared deceased, due to the fact he has been missing for so long now, and this news attracted sympathy from his wife and daughter. The next day, after Charlotte concluded work for the day, she met Blake seating outside the courthouse. He gave her the lunch he brought for her, then he asked her a striking question. He inquired if she was happy with their current state, and the look on her face already answered the question. According to Blake, it has dawned on him that she and Ginger are the only family he has left, so he feels they should stop their incessant nagging, and try to be happy as a family while they're still here. He suggested it'll be good for all of them if they move to Oregon, his childhood home, and spend the entire summer on vacation there. She reluctantly agreed as she'd hate leaving behind the work she has so much passion for. The main reason she agreed was she felt she has been neglecting her daughter, so the trip is a chance for them to rekindle their relationship. The next day they imminently arrived at Oregon. Blake couldn't really remember the routes down to Grady's house, so he tried checking the map for directions, and it was at this moment Ginger noticed someone camped in the treehouse nearby. The man on sighting them, inquired where they were headed to, and as they conversed, Blake got to discover it was Derek, Dan's son. After exchanging pleasantries, Derek told him he has been going the wrong way, so he opted to take him to Grady's house by himself. Charlotte wasn't comfortable with the idea of him joining them, but she imminently went to the back, while Derek occupied the front seat. Night approached on their way going, so Derek used the opportunity to narrate to Blake on the things he has to come to terms with here. On spur of moment, Blake loses control of the steering as he sighted a weird creature on the road. Their truck plummeted into the forest and they were nearly unconscious. The truck was turned upside down, so Ginger and Charlotte climbed through the window to get out. While this was happening, the creature broke the window, scratching Blake's arm, and not long after, it killed Derek and dragged him away. Blake immediately climbed out through the window also, after which he helped his family get down off the truck. On coming down, Blake kept his family at close call, then he frantically led them to Grady's house. They heard growling from the forest on getting closer, so they increased their pace this time around, and after they got inside, Blake held down the door to make sure the creature can't get in. Almost immediately he proceeded down to a bunker in the house, and on short notice he turned on the backup generator. Charlotte and Ginger were a little bit relieved, and as he got upstairs, Ginger scurrily hugged him tightly, insisting she wants to go back to San Francisco. After Blake was eventually able to lay Ginger to bed, his wife inquired the nature of the creature that was chasing after them. He was also clueless as he didn't understand how something that looked exactly like an animal can also be standing on its 2 feet like a human. After their conversation, he barricaded their front door with a wardrobe, with faith it'd keep the creature from bursting in. Instantaneously he brought out Grady's archaic communication system, and using it he tried to reach out for help. Not long after he started to show signs of the infection as first of his tooth started falling off, and it was at this moment Charlotte noticed the nasty injury in his arm. She proceeded to treat it immediately, but then he started experiencing more symptoms as he was sweating profusely. He further experienced adverse effects as he started visualizing things that weren't there, and also he developed a heightened sense of hearing. He heard a loud banging from somewhere inside the room, so he got closer to ascertain where the noise was coming from, and to his immense astonishment, it was just a spider walking across the wall. On seeing this, he concluded a transformative twist was ongoing within him, and this gave him a panic attack. With his heightened sense of hearing, he was able to monitor the creature's movement closely. He tracked it down to the side door, but as he placed his ear closer, the creature aggressively grabbed him by the foot, injuring him further, but his wife came to his rescue by stomping it with an axe. Blake was in a discombobulated state afterwards, as he was in excruciating pain, but Charlotte was there to console him. Few minutes later, he woke up on the couch, so he proceeded to ascertain the whereabouts of his family, and after searching for a short while, he found them in the bunker where Charlotte was trying to call out for help. She got increasingly worried, due to the fact that Blake has lost some motor functions like the ability to speak and understand her. It was such an awful moment for Ginger, as she hated seeing her dad in a helpless state. Charlotte stayed by his side all through, trying to convince him they're together in this, but Blake perceived her from a different point of view, as his vision got extremely blurry, and he couldn't hear a word of what she was saying. Spontaneously, he started gruesomely feeding off his own skin, which left Charlotte bizarrely perturbed. After feasting on his body, he walked past her like nothing happened. Blake was all in his feelings as he couldn't fathom what was going on within him, but Charlotte, regardless, still tried her best to reach out to him. As she saw he wasn't forthcoming, she spots a car in the driveway and made every attempt possible to jumpstart it. Ginger was inside the car with Blake, but his new look terrified her. Not long after, she succeeded in turning on the vehicle, but as they were about to drive away, the werewolf smashed through the windscreen, forcing them to abandon the car and seek refuge atop a greenhouse. They weren't still safe up there, as the werewolf used his claw to tear open the roof. Blake unearthed his family was no longer safe, so he signals Charlotte to take Ginger back inside. Almost immediately, he ran in the opposite direction to lead the creature away from his family, while his wife scurrily took Ginger inside the house. Ginger was immensely pissed at her for leaving her dad outside, but she explained he was only trying to protect her. Instantaneously, Blake returned back to the house, and as she opened the door, she figured he was even more deformed than before, and this scared her. On getting in, he retched out a severed finger, then he limped towards them, which was even more frightening, but Charlotte kept her cool notwithstanding his terrifying nature. This singular act of hers alone made him back down, and he started regretting his actions. The other werewolf bursted in almost immediately, and the two lot engaged in a dauntingly ferocious battle. Charlotte saw he was losing out, so she stabbed the werewolf in its back, and this made it divert its attention to them. It was a face-off between Charlotte and the monster. Blake intercepted the creature not long after, but it knocked him out with ease. As it was about dragging him away, Charlotte courageously struck it continuously with an iron rod. On spur of moment, Blake cornered the creature, but this time he was able to bite its neck and eventually killed it. After obliterating the monster, he looked closely at the tattoo on its arm, and it was at this moment he figured it was his infected father. On getting the hang of this, he hastily ran out of the house. On getting out, he started going through the final stages of his transformation into a werewolf. The process weighed on him, making him unable to control himself, and after the transformation was completed, his night vision got ultimately enhanced, so he used it to turn off the backup generator. All of a sudden he staged an attack on his own family, so in bid to evade him, they ran inside a barn nearby and locked the doors. In there, Charlotte garnered weapons she could use in protecting herself and her child. Nevertheless, Blake was unrelentless as he clawed his way in, using his newfound night vision to sneak towards them, but unbeknownst to him, Charlotte had already laid a trap in place. Not long after, the bear trap caught Blake's leg, while Charlotte and Ginger seized this opportunity to run away for the meantime. Blake was in excruciating pain, so he used his fangs to chew up the part of his foot stuck in the trap. After successfully biting off his foot, he continued to chase after them, while they sought shelter in the treehouse they sighted earlier on. Blake made his way up the stairs, and as he got up, Charlotte pointed a loaded rifle at him. After taking a moment to salvage the affection they had for each other, the family shared a final look amongst themselves, after which Charlotte shot him in cold blood, and that was how the movie ended. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment. Thank you.